Tariq, first of all, though, a couple items passed through this past week. Julian Edelman retires from the New England Patriots, and Steph Curry passes Wilt Chamberlain in the Warriors' all-time scoring list. Immediately, the conversation shifts from not from how great the current players are, but how they stack up against the past. These arguments, man, drive me crazy. How about you?
You know what? It's so interesting because they're calling Steph Curry an outlier, a player that's, you know, they don't understand his success. I mean, he's probably one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. You know, but Julian Edelman is interesting to me because there was some debate earlier this week as to whether or not he is a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but he does go under a category of people we love to root for. We love to root for guys who come into a league. They're not meant to play the position they got drafted for. They move around. They go to defense. They go to offense. They do what's best for the team. And the next thing you know, they become a key portion of a championship team or have a great successful run as a career. Steve Tasker was one of those individuals who came in and could do anything and play anywhere. So we love those sort of outliers, work hard work pays off kind of guys. That's what Edelman is. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he's the type of guy that people love to watch and get better. Steph Curry, same sort of thing. Not the tallest guy, not the fastest guy, but he makes you believe that you can go to the gym or go to the Y and shoot the lights out. That's the type of stuff that people love to see, and that's why we love to watch him.
How dare you?
I knew that was
Julian Edelman's name in the same sentence as Steve Tasker. How dare you, Tariq? I'm sorry, Bill, do what you're going to do. I said,
wait, which one of those guys has got a Super Bowl ring?
Was it? Are you serious right now? Which one of those is the greatest in his position of all time? Look at that. Look at you. Go wear a tie. I can see so much chest hair. Bill, do the show. I can't take this.
I thought the mere fact that he played with the Patriots was going to be enough to set you off. But, Pat, I got a pet theory here that these awards and these comparisons, it's all for our own self-gratification. It's like we bestow whether or not you were greater than Wilt Chamberlain or that Julian Edelman belongs in the Hall of Fame, when we don't care so much about the argument is that we care about putting ourselves in a position of judgment on people who have done things that we'll never do.
100%. And I think it goes twofold. But I mean, look, isn't watching sports exactly what you just described, right? Like I watch sports to judge the guys and gals that are playing that I'm watching on TV, right? I want to root for the guy. I mean, Tariq did bring up Julian Edelman in his background, and he wasn't supposed to come from anywhere, much like Steve Tasker. But yeah, I want to cheer for that guy that reminds me of me, and I want to push that guy forward. But going even further on your point, Bill, the reason we have these arguments is to justify that the sports that we watched when we were coming of age that we love the most were the best sports, right? You're going to have NBA fans from the 60s and 70s saying, of course, Steph Curry isn't even close to Wilt Chamberlain because I watched basketball when it was good, right? And you're going to have guys and gals from their late 80s into the early 2000s saying, of course, Julian Edelman isn't a Hall of Fame wide receiver. I saw Hall of Fame wide receivers. I saw Marvin Harrison and Jerry Rice and Andre Reed and all these guys, right? Like the reason these arguments get so heated, it's not so much about the players themselves. It's about the teams that I loved at the times I loved them and the era in which I was watching sports. Because let's be real, any time between 1986 and now is when the best of any sport ever was.
Well, let me just add on to that. He brings up a great point, and I want to add on to the fact that how many players who played during the Jordan era in the early 90s where there were fights every other week would say to themselves, I would never let Steph Curry get comfortable. I'd get up in his face. I'd knock him down. All of these different things that we loved about 80s basketball and 90s basketball would not exist today because they changed the rules, the way they guard. It's totally different, and Steph Curry is allowed to get the space that he needs to be the player that everybody loves to watch. So this actually benefits his game. Now, would he still be a great shooter? I still think he would be a great shooter. His dad was a great shooter. I think it's in the genes. But to Duffy's point, the era is totally different. Tougher era back in the 80s and 90s than it is today.
And you look at the NBA, when they flash back, and we have experience with these teams, the old Lakers-Celtics battles, the Bird, Magic Johnson. If you look at those videos now, back then, you know, these were the two greatest teams and up and down the court and all this. They look like they're moving in slow motion. It doesn't look like the same game we see out there now.
And you're 100% right. I mean, look, you can say it across all sports in reality. Sports is less physical than it was. Professional sports, less physical than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. But it's better, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I love watching a good hockey fight. I like the bang and smash NHL from back in the day. Hockey's better now. Football, the NFL is better now that you can see speed and skill on display instead of a defensive end literally knocking Jeff George unconscious before he hits the ground. Basketball is better. I like watching those old, Bad Boys Pistons teams. But Bill, you're right. It feels like the game takes 5 hours because they're literally running in quicksand. And Tariq, to your point earlier, you talk about these guys from the late 80s, early 90s who say, well, Steph wouldn't get a shot off if I was the one guarding him. Who's to say that those guys would be on NBA rosters today with players being faster and jumping higher and being stronger? Like Bill Laimbeer, you can talk all you want. You might have been a carpet salesman, so maybe you should just be grateful that you got to play when you did and sit down and shut up.
They're relatable. Steph Curry's at a size where you would believe you're able to understand, whereas who's 7 foot? I mean, who's around here is 7 foot. That's not a common height that you see out here. Steph Curry, and it's funny how many people complained about back in the day, they couldn't shoot, they couldn't play, no one could hit a 10-foot jumper, no one could do this. And now guys are able to do it with ease, and people are still upset. The era is different because the times have changed, and that's why people don't. They find it a tough time comparing the two together. We will not go back to the Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar days. Those days are gone.
Yeah, and the NBA was still in sort of its infancy. Wilt Chamberlain came in as a rookie and broke the league scoring record and averaged 50 points a game at one season and wasn't on a championship team that year.
Wow.
Really odd. Very different time.